This is the Athletic Football Show.
Welcome to the Athletic Football Show. I'm Robert Mays. Joining me tonight is my good friend Nate Tice. Nate, how you doing, buddy?
Doing well. I feel so far away now. Like when I see myself on the camera, I feel so far away. But no,
you look great though.
I appreciate it. I finally get to show off some of my posters, which have been in storage for years and years and years because I'm a hoarder. And I'm like,
I'm glad that people can just feel how weird you are. Just more that more people see of you, the more they understand that you're really just a true weirdo.
True weirdo. My wife even like she gets me all the way, like just trying to appease me. She's like, and you could show off your board games now. Like that's how she talked me into at this IKEA trip, this impromptu IKEA trip turned into buying like shelves and stuff. But she knows me. She's like, we can hang your posters. You can show off your board games. It's like, yeah, she talked me right into that.
So day before Halloween, a lot of weird stuff on broadcasts with guys with Frankenstein's heads and lots of costumes and a lot of weirdness with the week. And I think with this season in general, we're going to talk about some of that. We're going to dig into the Cowboys offense a little bit today, talk about some veterans that got traded that had monster days, talk about the 2021 quarterback class having a pretty rough morning. Before we do any of that, though, I want to start with some unlikely NFC division leaders. When we were talking about what we wanted to dig into today, we were looking at the standings in the NFC. And we've got three teams that I think are kind of surprisingly at the top of their respective divisions. The Vikings win today. They're now up 3.5 games on the Packers in the NFC North. The Seahawks win today. They are up 1 game on the Niners in the NFC West. They're 5-3, a team that I think a lot of people believe might be the worst team in the NFL. The Falcons, after winning that insane game against the Panthers today, are now 4-4 and leading the NFC South. So I want to talk about all of those games individually, but I want to talk about it through a lens of which teams we think of those three can actually win their division. At the end of the season, can they be standing at the top of this thing? And I want to start with the Minnesota Vikings.
It's in a weird way, like the ones that I feel kind of almost less like kind of middling about is the ones that are probably most easily going to win their division, which I just the craziest thing. When we were doing our Thursday show, because we cut part of it, but I got this little stat in if anybody stays for when we make our picks and you get to hear our degeneracy out loud and dragging Robert into the muck and making picks every week.
God.
But But going into this week, the Vikings, the stat that I listed, I don't know what the updated numbers are now. I could have looked it up. I'll look it up tomorrow. But the first half, this is the Vikings' first half offense. They were 8th in EPA per drive, 7th in EPA per play, first in success rate. In the second half, they're 28th in EPA per drive, 28th in EPA per play, and 20th in success rate. So once they got outside that opening script, they kind of fell apart, and it really felt like the red zone plays were really cool. I wrote about it on The Athletic, but week in, week out, they had some cool designs for Justin Jefferson and popping other guys open off of those looks of Justin Jefferson. Today, you even got to see some of their designery stuff. The short yardage pitch play to Dalvin Cook was really cool. I tweeted about that.
I thought a lot of the run game stuff they did today was really nice.
Yeah.
The short yardage pitch play, some of the gun run stuff. I was like, oh man, like 4 or 5 times a game, I'm like, that's really nice. But
it is.
Overall, the experience just leaves me kind of cold.
It's how I feel about that team. It's like once in a while, I'm like, I get really excited. I see some Justin Jefferson play. I see Kirk Cousins scrambling for a touchdown. And it's like, oh, wow, look at this. Oh my God, look at this. But the down to down consistency and the series to series consistency, it just feels very inconsistent. It's just that you don't know what you're going to get. It feels like they try a lot of things, and then over time, some of it hits and some of it doesn't. And I think sometimes when it hits, it's great. I think their week to week designer stuff is awesome, but their bare bones stuff is just like, it just leaves you wanting more. And I have no idea what to make of their defense. This is just talk about their offense. I have no idea what to make of their defense. Sometimes it looks great. They get a great pass rush with Zadarius Smith moving him around. And then sometimes I'm like, oh my God, these guys are running wide open on you guys. Like, how do you guys even passing this off? You got Patrick Peterson running with the number ones on every single team. So it's a team that like they do a lot of things that's exciting and it's cool, but then there's stretches of leave you wanting more, even though their record is just outstanding. So I guess the bounces are going their way as they're trying to figure this out, but I have no idea what to make of this team, even that they just keep winning games.
Sitting there rewatching their game today, they are 6-1. They are going to win most likely the NFC North. I still have no idea if they're good. I have no idea if they're good. I have zero idea. Okay. So the Minnesota Vikings, as it currently stands, are 12th in EPA per play on offense. Sounds right.
Yeah. That's right.
That sounds right. Right. So look at that. It makes sense. They're 18th in EPA per play on defense. Sounds right.
Yeah.
I get that.
Yeah.
Because I have the exact same feeling on defense. I really like some of the pass rush stuff they can do when they move Zadarius Smith around. One of the sacks he had today, he's lined up over the center as that spinner. What he used to wreak havoc doing that stuff in Green Bay. And he gets a sack in that situation. Like, ooh, I like that. And they've gotten some really opportune interceptions this year, which happened again today, where I'm not sure that's great play on their part or Kyler making some pretty rough decisions. They lack a lot of speed on the back end, which isn't necessarily surprising because they're getting pretty old on the back end. Like that injection of youth they were supposed to get with Andrew Booth, Lewis Cine, that just didn't happen for multiple reasons. So you have Patrick Peterson and Harrison Smith and these guys that are kind of on the back end. And, Chandon Sullivan is playing slot corner for them. It's like, okay, like they're sort of underwhelming on that side of the ball. On the offense, while the moments you can talk yourself into it, I think my biggest issue with it is that the offense lacks explosiveness in the passing game. And you look at it and the stats totally line up with that. Kirk Cousins has thrown 12% of his pass attempts this season more than 15 yards in the air. 12. That is 39th of 40 quarterbacks in the NFL. 39th of 40 quarterbacks in the NFL. He is averaging like 6. I wish I had the stat in front of me. I don't have his actual air yards per target, but it's like air yards per target, he's like 36th or 37th. But he's throwing nothing past 15 or 20 yards. And so Justin Jefferson coming into this game had 4 targets of 20 plus air yards. 4.
And
that's how it feels watching them. Yeah. And that's how it feels watching them. And it feels like they lack explosiveness. I do like some of the stuff they're doing in the run game. Yeah. And I think the run game to me is the most interesting kind of twist on what they did a year ago. Looking at some of these numbers, they are second in rushing success in the NFL right now. They're also running into a ton of light boxes because of all the 11 personnel they play out of. So I think they're like 5th or 6th in 11 personnel usage in the league, like 76% of snaps, which is right up there. They're 27th in the total runs they've had. Makes sort of sense because they had their bye already. They are 9th in the amount of times they've run the ball into light boxes. So think about that disconnect. That's just
Yeah.
how often they're running into light boxes. Only 30% of their runs this year have come into 8 or more guys in the box. That's 25th in the NFL. Last year it was 45% and they were 9th. And I think them spreading it out has really led to a lot more consistent success on the ground. And today I liked a lot of the stuff they were doing in their gun run game where they down near the red zone, they did some interesting stuff. So there are elements to the offense that I like, but I really do think that the ceiling of it is capped right now just because they don't seem to have an ability to push the ball down the field or willingness to push the ball down the field. And I think that's kind of why when I watch them, it's like, this isn't exciting. Like even when they do good stuff, it's like, the bones of this makes sense, but it's hard to get overly enthusiastic about it because there's really no other level that the offense is going to during these games.
I know, and that's the thing is you don't want to be mad at them because it's like it's everything they do is sound. Nothing's gimmicky. It's just but it's just like you said, it's lacking that explosive element. When I went to that practice and training camp and I saw them practicing every combination of play action that you could think of, I was like, oh my God, they're going to be launching this thing. They're going to be just going down and heavy play action and bombs over the top and getting guys at intermediate. We're starting to talk about, is it KJ Osborne's going to be the one on the intermediate stuff? We're trying to figure out who's the best guy for each spot. And they just don't do it. Like going into this week, I think some of it is and why the run game has been successful, even with those light boxes. And this ties into the coverage stuff I'm about to say is they're facing the highest percentage of 2-man snaps on first and second down, which makes sense for a couple of reasons because Cousins doesn't scramble, but also they have this guy named Justin Jefferson that every defense is terrified of him. So on top of that, they also face the second fewest amount of snaps of man on first and second down. And I think it's third and fourth down as well. They faced 12 total snaps going into this week of cover 1 on first and second down. Total. That's it. So it's light boxes, and on top of it, they're zoning it off. They're clouding. The Lions game is the one that always stands out to me. I've mentioned it before, but just clouding whatever side Jefferson's on. And I think this Vikings team, this Vikings staff is going like, oh, this is how teams are going to play us. Like, this is how teams are going to play us. So we have to figure out what makes this work. We're getting into 11%. Like, Jefferson's a totally different animal than Cooper Kupp. We've talked about the Cooper Kupp role and where Kevin McConnell came from with the Rams. But Jefferson's an X. Like, he can move around, but he's an X, and that's how they use him. You don't see Cooper Kupp lined up as an X on first and second down. He's the point man a bunch. He's the Z. So it's a different usage of him, which means the looks that defenses are playing are different. And so I think because all these defenses are clouding them, they're like, oh, we got to do. So that's why you'll start seeing them running weak side zone because that's a good run against cover 2. So I think they were like, oh shoot, we have to lean into different types of runs. And I think they're figuring that out, but I don't think the passing is caught up for them. And on top of it, like on third down, Kirk Cousins isn't really pushing the ball. Like he's become a huge check down Charlie on third down. He's 31st in Alex, which is what's
it's a great Football Outsider stat. It's a stat that measures how far you're throwing the ball past the sticks on third down.
Thank you. I'm trying to remember what it stands for. Air yards less expected. They try to really rope it in for Alex Smith. So
they did it way back when in like 2015 when Alex Smith was the king of the checkdowns.
King of it. So he's 31st in that going into this week. He was, and so that is something because on third down he's not really pushing the ball. So teams are really playing these soft coverages, and he's forced to check it down. He's not that type of guy to gun one in there. That's why we talk about this. Coaches love Kirk Cousins because he does everything out of this on the board. He takes what's there.
He's never going to give you something that's not there, and that's why it's been really frustrating to watch him this year. Just because
it's all tied together.
You watch it, it's like, all right, I understand why this is the way that it is, but it's hard to get excited about it. All of that being said, and by the way, I think Justin Jefferson's 2 biggest plays in this game. He ran a corner route from the slot. Then it was a contested catch on the left sideline.
Oh, that was
the one where Simmons was on him from the inside in the first half. Those were his 2 biggest plays of the game today, is when he was inside. So they're trying to move him around, but I agree because the ways that he is getting used and the way that teams can account for him, I think that they're limiting his impact on the game. And you're seeing that consistently. So all of this being said,
real quick. There's not many guys that get treated like this receiver wise. And it's like it's a traditional X how he's getting treated. And that's what's really cool. But it's almost like you have to go back to 10, 15 years ago to go like, all right, how do you open up a guy like this other than moving him from the slot or into the slot? But it's kind of fun, like to see like this old school treatment of how defenses are treating him and this old school player kind of in a way, how Jefferson is.
All of this being said about how we're not super excited about the Vikings, I do think the Vikings are going to win the NFC North because the gap that they have right now, there's no one catching them. The Packers just aren't playing very well. And even if we're not overly excited about what the Vikings are in this moment or what their ceiling is in the NFC, they're good enough to win this terrible division where everything stands right now. Let's get to the next one here. Seattle Seahawks, 5-3 after today. They beat the Giants by 2 scores. Do we think that the Seahawks can actually win the NFC West?
Kinda. Yeah. I have them. I mean, kinda. Yeah, like I have them just below the 49ers. I mean, the 49ers look pretty sweet today. But I mean, I feel better about them than the 3 teams we're talking about in this segment. This is the team I feel almost the best about because I think they're out. And is that crazy for me to say? Like,
it is kind of wild to think that, but I don't know why that would be wrong.
Right.
Because if we're trying to, my answer to this is, and the reason why I think that's justified, which unit, the 6 units of the 3 teams we're talking about, are you most enthusiastic about right now? I think it's probably the Seahawks offense.
Seahawks offense. Eye tests and numbers.
Yes.
They're checking every box. So that's who I think, and they're facing the 29th ranked schedule according to DVOA offensively. The rest of the
rest of the way. Okay.
For the rest of the way.
I was curious about that. Interesting.
And 25th overall offense and defense and special teams combined. So their rest of their schedule isn't like some, bloodbath, but no, I like this offense. Geno's operating, of course, exceptional level, but they do everything really well. They kind of mishmash what they do every week. Sometimes they're in a lot of empties. Sometimes they're doing play action, but they can do everything. We talk about tools in the toolbox. This Seahawks offense kind of has everything. They have tight end weapons. They have receiver weapons. Kenneth Walker's playing well. The offensive line is very sound. The rookies are playing way, way above a normal rookie level, especially at offensive tackle. Yeah, I feel good about this offense. I feel that they're able to carry them through these games.
He is still making like 4 or 5 throws a game that kind of make you sit up a little bit in your chair. Nothing crazy today.
Yeah.
But just playing quarterback at a really solid level. I mean, he's 8th in EPA per dropback. That's a little bit lower than he was a couple weeks ago, but today that number got dragged down a little bit because he took some sacks. But if Lockett catches that touchdown and Lockett doesn't fumble inside the 5-yard line, they win this game going away. Yeah, it wouldn't have even been close. And I'm penciling in their offense as just like a good unit. I don't know where they end up on the season. Like if you told me by the end of this, the Seahawks finished 11th in passing DVOA or like right in the top 12 in passing efficiency, I guess that wouldn't shock me. But I also wouldn't be surprised if they stayed in the top 10 and continue to do the things that they're doing, because I don't think there's anything gimmicky or weird about why they've been successful. But the encouraging part about what their ceiling might look like and why they could stay competitive in this division is that their defense has started to play functional NFL football. So over the past 3 weeks, the Seahawks are 5th in EPA per dropback on defense. They were absolutely awful the first part of the season. You go watch the Lions game, oh my god, even you go watch even the New Orleans game. It's like, what is happening right now? But their defense has started to play better, and if their defense can just get back to a middling level, like if they can be the 20th best defense in the league with this offense, they're going to be competitive in this division. I still think that the Niners, with all of the guys they have and with what they can do on defense, their defense has dipped over the last few weeks a little bit. Thought they played really well in the second half today. I still think the Niners are probably a better team top to bottom, and I think they probably win it out in the end. But I'm pretty comfortable saying that the Seahawks are going to be right there fighting for a wild card spot all the way until the end of the season. I have no reason not to think that.
That's how I feel. I feel like their offense will keep them in every game. And I'm glad you brought up the defense because they are playing well. That's how I felt about them a few weeks ago. Was like, oh, it's a fun team. Geno's playing well, a lot of shootouts. And, sometimes they'll go 50-50 on those shootouts. But now they're putting together complete games. And talk about playing quarterback and all the aspects of being a quarterback, not just making the cool throws, but the down-to-down sustainability, but also the off-field stuff. And it was really cool. Lockett drops that touchdown. And they had the clip. They showed Geno on the sideline going to Lockett, going, "Hey, it's all good, bud. It's all good." Being he hits a leader, and they run a double move for him. It wasn't a mirror double move. They ran a double move just with him running it. So they were just going like, "Hey, get it back." And Geno went right to him. I mean, it was beautiful, great throw and catch. But I thought that was really cool. They have good vibes about them, which matters. I mean,
I'm with you.
Every year, there's NFL teams, there's sports teams in every type of sport where it's like, oh, this is the vibes team of this year. That's how the Seahawks team feels. Like they know they're playing with house's money, but it doesn't feel always lucky. Like that's why I want to emphasize with people. It's like Geno's playing well, but this whole offense is playing well, and now the defense is playing better. It's like they're playing very complete. Like they're pretty good. Like I'm trying to figure out how to like phrase it, but it's a pretty good team. It's a surprisingly pretty good team, and I'm enjoying watching them.
There's no way I could have predicted that Geno would play this well. I don't think Greg Rosenthal or Steven Ruiz predicted that Geno would play this well. Like, the captains of the Geno fan club never could have anticipated this.
No.
But I still thought they'd be competitive.
Yeah.
Because when I looked at the roster, I was like, this is not. And it's funny because the Giants were the team I would put down there, and the Falcons, the team we're about to talk about, and the Bears, like these teams that are truly tearing it down. If you look at cash spending and some of the guys they've gotten rid of, really the only thing the Seahawks did is they let Bobby Wagner walk and they traded Russell Wilson.
Yep.
Right? Other than that, it's not like they purged the roster full of veterans. They let some other guys walk in free agency, DJ Reed and whoever, but they still had DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. They still made some investments on the defensive side of the ball in free agency, and they had all of those draft picks. I'm sitting there looking at it like Geno played fine last year. Like I think they're going to be a competitive team in the NFC. He's played better than I thought, and the rest of the NFC's bottom has fallen out. So even if you don't think they're going to win the NFC West, if the Niners will eventually catch them being one game back, who's going to beat them out for a wild card spot? They're 5-3 right now. The only teams ahead of them in the NFC standings outside of Minnesota, who we think is going to win the NFC North, are the Cowboys and the Giants. They now have the tiebreaker over the Giants. I think the Seahawks are probably going to the playoffs.
They have to go, 5-4 the rest of the way? 4-5, maybe, if they have tiebreakers?
Probably.
They
have a 2-game lead on the Bucs. They have a 2-game lead on the Saints. They have a 2-game lead on the they lost to the Saints.
They lost to the Saints, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm just those games, this crazy shootout games, is hard to pin down. So that's only a 1-game lead
because no one felt we all won those games.
That's exactly
we got
right.
to enjoy them as a viewer.
So I still think that they have an inside track to probably be a playoff team, and even if they don't win the division, because the Niners are all in. The Seahawks are like 2 years away from where we think they're going to be a really competitive team in the NFC. So we've talked about this before. I think it's still house money, but I really do think that even if they don't win the NFC West, they're probably going to be a playoff team, and that's crazy considering the conversation was heading into the season.
I went on a gambling show in August, and we were talking. He was like, "Who are some surprise, total games that you like? Who like overs that you like?" And I gave the Seahawks. And I was like, I could see them squeezing in 7 wins, a sneaky 7 wins, like a compet. And I was being an optimist.
What was their over under?
It was either 5.5 or 6.5. And I'm trying to remember which one it was, but it was low. And I remember being like, oh, I think they could get 7 and get, maybe sneak to 8. The NFC's wide open, but I didn't think like playoffs. I was just saying that they could hit the win over total. And I thought I was being like a super optimist, but no, that's how they're playing. I'm pleasantly surprised how much I enjoy watching the Seahawks play, especially that offense. I watched that Chargers game, and it was just watching the scheme they're running. Geno making the throws he has to make. The run game looks good. It's just very sound. There are some Shanahan McVay stuff in it and some of the run game, but it's kind of a greatest hits type of offense, which is fun to watch when it's run well, because they're just doing a little bit of everything and different types of concepts. Geno's willing to push the ball. Geno's willing to stay in the pocket.
You can say that again, man.
It's fun.
Ripping that thing.
It's awesome. But it's not in a dumb way. It's not like he's a gun. It's not a gunslinger way.
He leads the league in completion percentage, Nate.
It's awesome.
That's insane. Awesome. And it's not like he's some check down Charlie doing that. He is pushing the ball, and he's been one of the most efficient passers in the league. It's absolutely crazy. All right, let's move on. Atlanta Falcons.
You see him give a shout out to Ben McAdoo, by the way. To Geno did.
That's really funny.
After the game.
I'm so mad that we forgot to do the Geno revenge game. I'm so mad that we forgot to do it on the Thursday show.
I forgot.
It just because we were so deep into like the breaking it down of the game and talking about the Giants that it just totally slipped my mind, and I'm really upset about it. We also missed the Patrick Peterson revenge game. We got to be better about this. I'm putting this on me. We got to be better about this. And guys, remind us of the Wicks during the week. Like if you want, we all want more of this. So remind us of the revenge game from like Monday through Friday, because we got to feed the content beast here. All right. Last game. Atlanta Falcons are now 4-4, winning the NFC South, which is just absolutely beautiful.
Amazing.
Let's talk about this game for a second. This is one of those this had everything games. PJ Walker threw a ball 62 yards in the air to DJ Moore. By the way, the funniest part about this was we were talking on the Slack, and I took the Falcons. So the Falcons got that cheap field goal to be covering. And I was like, ooh, the Falcons might cover after that field goal. 30 seconds after I said that, PJ Walker uncorks a 62-yard throw to DJ Moore. He almost got him earlier in the game, by the way. PJ Walker's got a fucking hose.
Oh, yeah.
That guy can throw the football. It's crazy. He hits DJ Moore, and then DJ Moore pops his helmet off controversially, and the whole game goes off the rails.
He did the Dwayne Rudd. That's like a 1999 Browns reference right there. Yeah, maybe it was 2000, but Dwayne Rudd. You remember that name?
Yes, I do remember that name. All right, the Falcons. So the Falcons are 4-4. My thought about this, and I'm curious what you think, is that none of this really matters.
No, that's kind of where I'm
like.
at.
Do you think the Falcons are going to win the NFC South?
No, I don't.
So who do you think is going to win the NFC South?
I'm gonna just, you guys can pull this up at the end of the year. I still think it's gonna be the Bucks, but it's just I have no idea. I really don't. The Saints are playing better, but I'm still gonna say the Bucks. But I don't know. I really don't know. I love watching
Andy Dalton that nightmare game against the Cardinals. Other than that, Andy Dalton has played well this year.
He played well today. It was I know. It's very functional. I watched I think it was their Carolina game. Yeah, I was at Carolina, and like he was actually doing some okay things. Just like okay when he came into relief, but I don't know with this Falcons team. This defense is very not good. Their defense is
awful, but that's okay. That's okay.
They weren't expected to be.
They are dead last in defensive spending. The Falcons were not this entire thing about the Falcons. We might as well uncork this now. All of this frustration about Kyle Pitts' usage and how much the Falcons are throwing the ball. The Falcons were 9th in offensive DVOA coming into this game. The Atlanta Falcons should be the worst team in the NFL. Based on the players that they have and the investments that they have made, I think the Falcons should be the worst team in the league. They are dead last in defensive spending. They haven't spent anything on their offense. Like they signed Jake Matthews to a contract. Other than that, they've spent some draft picks on players. Marcus Mariota is not a starting quarterback in the NFL.
No.
Like whatever you think of him, and whatever his skill set is, Marcus Mariota is not a starting quarterback in the NFL. So any frustrations about the Falcons not throwing the ball enough or the Falcons kind of falling short in some of these games, the Falcons being 4-4 and being an above average offense is a freaking miracle. Yes. Like I can't believe that we're talking about it in these terms. The Falcons were already, I think, probably the worst defense in the league personnel-wise coming into the season. And now AJ Terrell and Casey Hayward are both hurt. So if you walked down the street and asked a random person to name a starter on the Atlanta Falcons defense, they couldn't do it.
They couldn't. Like it's we love Grady Jarrett. No one knows who Grady Jarrett is.
That's probably it. Maybe someone could say Grady Jarrett. Outside of Grady Jarrett. Other than Grady Jarrett, I don't think a random NFL fan could name you a starter on today's Falcons defense.
No.
Without AJ Terrell out there.
No, they couldn't.
That's where this team is. So, and this idea that, they have Kyle Pitts and Drake London. Kyle Pitts and Drake London were drafted for whoever the next quarterback of the Atlanta Falcons is going to be. And I think it's important to remember that at every single stage of this.
Yes.
Like this is about building up the infrastructure so they can drop the quarterback into it when it's all said and done.
Yes.
And when Kyle Pitts looked a little healthier today, he had an impact on the game. So I don't think the Falcons are going to win the division. I think the Bucs still probably will, but I just want to reframe and recontextualize the types of conversations we're having about the 2022 Atlanta Falcons.
Well, and then that's the thing too, is that's why we've been so excited about watching this Falcons offense is just because the fact that they're able to do this with Marcus Mariota and Caleb McGarry, who looked like he should have been cut last year, and insert name.
It helps when you're never dropping back, baby.
Oh, I know, doesn't it? Just bootlegs and run the ball. It's great. And motioning and shifting on every single snap and tons of personnel. They ran a 23 personnel play. So 2 fullback, 3 tight ends and a running back there. Split out Kyle Pitts. just had him run a little in-breaker on there. That was awesome. That's the thing too. And that's why I even wrote about it, but this is why I laugh when people are like, oh man, they don't design plays for Kyle Pitts. It's like, no, they do. The quarterback just doesn't get him the ball. And
He's also been hurt.
And he's also been a little banged up. But they had a sail route to him, 12 personnel, which was awesome. They hit him as a little wing tight end. They did the delay pop route that for the touchdown in the red zone. They had the swing to him where he was the third in progression. And someone that even tweeted it was like, man, they're finally dialing up some plays for Kyle Pitts. He was like, he's third in the progression there. That wasn't dialing it up for him, but you guys just only focus on the results. So you don't realize the process of these plays. They had a third down where they had him as the number 3 spot, run a little outbreaker. He's wide open. Mariota throws it inside and late, so it gets batted down. But it's like, no, they're trying to dial up plays. Even in this limited pass game offense, as far as attempts wise, they are trying. They know who their best players are. But that's the thing. It still works. Even that, the fact that they came and get their best, most talented player the ball, and it's still working, and they're still a very effective and explosive offense. Wow. Wait till they do get them the ball. Like that's what's amazing about this offense. And that's why I go gaga over it, because it's so well coached. They have insert name. They have 20, created Madden generated name from 2032 at receiver and tight end. And those guys are making plays for them and doing it well. It's like, that's why this is exciting. The bones are good. That's the phrase I'm going to keep using, but the bones are good at what they're trying to do. They're just building the infrastructure until they actually get players. So that's why I'm optimistic about the Falcons, even if this year is kind of like they're punching above their weight.
That's exactly what they're doing. They're punching above their weight. This is not about this year. So I don't think they're going to win the division. I don't think that really matters. I think this is about, all right, you've built a solid functional offense out of the pieces that you have now. Maybe you're not the production from the guys that you're throwing out there that you drafted in the top 10 is out of this world, but you're not built that way. Like they threw the ball last year all around the yard because they couldn't run the ball. Their inability to run the ball is why they threw as much as they did last year. They were the worst offense in football last year. When Kyle Pitts had 1,000 yards last season, the Atlanta Falcons finished dead last in offensive DVOA.
Yep.
Like these things don't have to be aligned. So I just think that we should pump the brakes on what we expect out of this team now and what they could be in the long term when all of this stuff starts actually falling into place. So all of that said, I do not think the Falcons are going to win the NFC South, and I think that's okay.
No, they're a fun team. They got guys like Zacchaeus.
Olamide Zacchaeus.
Oh wow, can I buy a vowel?
I got you, buddy.
Yeah, thank you. He's one of the most efficient players if you just look at like some of the metrics, because they don't throw the ball a lot. But he's one of the most effective and efficient players in the entire NFL. Like he's top 10 in first downs per route, all that type of stuff.
I was looking at EPA per target and stuff today because of Tyreek and AJ Brown. He's like up there. Yeah, he's up there at the top of the league.
Yeah, it's like they got this random dude, again, insert player name from 2032 Madden, playing receiver for him, and they're using him well, and he's like standing out. But that's the thing, is when they get reinforcements, those guys drop down the depth chart, and all of a sudden your receiver 3s and your receiver 4s are good players. That's where good teams are based out of. They're building and they're doing it effectively. That's the kind of disconnect. Sometimes a bad team can like be well coached and do everything really well, and that's why they win games. So that's kind of what's going on in Atlanta right now.
Marcus Mariota is using play action on 47% of his dropbacks this season, which is not a real NFL offense. He is 23rd in EPA per dropback on third down. When they have to drop back, that's not who they want to be, and that's not who they're going to be. So I think it's totally fine to look at the Falcons as kind of an oddity right now and hope that as they continue to rebuild, because they are rebuilding, they can be a little bit better. But long story short, I do think the Bucs are still probably going to win that division, just because I just have to think that the talent ultimately wins out in that conversation.
I'm going to keep saying it until I turn into a piece of corn cob. I'm just going to keep saying it. We'll find out in a few weeks, but I still think it's going to be the Bucs, but who knows? Who really knows with the NFC?
All right. We're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to talk about who grabbed our attention today. What's the first thing you do when you wake up? Is it checking on your credit score? Didn't think so. At Chime, that's exactly what they do. With their secured Chime Credit Builder Visa credit card, you can start to build your credit with your own money. Chime reports your payments to credit bureaus to help you build your credit over time. Their members see an increase of 30 points on average. All this with no annual fees, large security deposits, or credit checks to apply. So start your credit journey with Chime. Sign up takes only 2 minutes and doesn't affect your credit score. Get started at chime.com/maze. That's chime.com/maze. Chime Credit Builder Visa Credit Card is issued by Stride Bank NA pursuant to a license from Visa USA Chime checking account and $200 qualifying direct deposit required to apply for the secured Chime Credit Builder Visa Credit Card. Regular on-time payment history can have a positive impact on your credit score. Impact to score may vary, and some user score may not improve. Out-of-network ATM withdrawal fees may apply except at MoneyPass ATMs in a 7-Eleven or at any Allpoint or Visa Plus Alliance ATM. We all know when it gets chilly outside, it can be hard to stay motivated, get outside, and work out. But you've got goals to meet and miles to log, so keep your feet warm and dry with a weather-repellent Wool Dasher Meisel shoe from Allbirds. Don't let winter storms put a damper on your run. I love my Wool Dasher Meisels. I've had a pair for a couple years now. They're great to travel with. I run errands with them. And obviously, when it gets cold, wet, nasty here in Chicago, they're a great shoe to keep me outside and active. Allbirds printed the Wool Dasher Meisel's carbon footprint right on the shoe, so you know its impact on the planet. And they built the Wool Dasher Meisel with natural materials to have a low environmental impact, so you can break a sweat without breaking the planet. This fall, keep your feet cozy and dry with the Allbirds Wool Dasher Meisels. Discover your perfect pair at allbirds.com today. That's ALLBIRDS.com.
Gentlemen, you had my curiosity, but now you have my attention.
Nate, I think we're here. I think the Dallas Cowboys are running the offense that I have always wanted the Dallas Cowboys to run with Dak Prescott as their quarterback.
Isn't it wonderful?
The Dallas Cowboys, you have my attention. It was tough to watch because they were playing the Bears. I will say, though, this is an ideal sort of 2022 Chicago Bears game. Justin Fields, I thought, played pretty well and continues to show a lot of really encouraging signs, and they lost. That's great. I'm into it. I mean, that is exactly what I want right now.
Look at that Dane Brugler's receiver rankings and
I've been doing it like twice a day, and I'm watching that TCU guy now. We're really starting to get the gears going. Anyway, I want to talk about the Cowboys because going back and watching that game today, I think there are a few different things I want to dig into, but just stats wise, over the last 2 weeks since he came back, Dak Prescott leads the NFL in EPA per dropback. He was 21 of 27 today for 252 yards and 2 scores, and had 5 carries for 34 yards, including a touchdown.
Yeah.
Tony Pollard carried the ball 14 times for 131 yards today and had 3 touchdowns, added a 16-yard catch to go along with that. So we're looking at almost 150 yards from scrimmage for Tony Pollard, and we're marching the ball up and down the field. I mean, Dak threw a pick, but for the most part, play in, play out against a defense that pretty solid. Like the Bears aren't great, but they've been a middle of the pack defense for most of the season, and the Cowboys torched them today.
Yes.
This is what I want. This is what I want from them.
Yes. I wanted to see, because Dak can do it, remember last year when he was just shredding the blitz, and we're like, why do defenses keep blitzing him? Because he was like one of the most blitzed like quarterbacks in the league. The Bears.
He still is.
I don't get why. He's like do they not watch it for that 30? Because his Cowboys plays, especially on third down, when you're watching them all 22, takes so long because they get lined up and then Dak's pointing everyone out, and you're just like, oh my God, snap it, Dak. But that's why watching this Bears game, because the Bears aren't really too blitz heavy of a team. Last week against the Patriots, they were a little bit. They sprinkled some stuff in, but generally they are not under Eberflus. And he was just torching them because all this under center stuff. That's why I love Dak, and anyone's listening to the show knows it's just that his all aroundness is why I love him, because he's so accurate. He has such a great mind for the game, but then he's able to go under center and turn his back to the defense. He's able to go in the shotgun, run quick game. He's able to launch some balls deep, kind of a selective, aggressive type of deep ball thrower, but he's able to do everything well. That's why I like him. But today, 32 of their 57 snaps were under center. They're doing quick game out of it, deep play action concepts out of it. That was awesome. The designs in the red zone were so cool from this Cowboys offense. That CD touchdown was nifty. It was, and I wish I could.
Motion was the number 1 receiver down the left side. Yeah, it was beautiful.
They motioned like they're going to do switch verticals. So usually when you motion a guy like a speed motion, they do switch verticals. So 2 vertical routes. The guy in the motion is doing the wheel route. So he ends up being outside vertical. Instead, they had him sell the outside vertical because the Bears catch it. The corner is ready to catch it because he's a zone defender, and he ends up running a post route. So they vertical towards the sideline, act like he's running a wheel route towards the sideline, and then breaks back in. It was beautiful.
And Brisker was responsible for him, and Brisker was on the sideline. So it was 10 yards of outside leverage. He had no shot.
He was like, oh, I got CeeDee Lamb running right at me. Okay, let's make this nice and safe and make sure I can catch him. But it gets maximized because Dak's timing, and this is why I love him, it's exquisite. That ball, his foot hit the back of his drop, and that ball was out. And that's what red zone, throwing the ball in the red zone, that's what matters, is that timing and that accuracy. His time to throw today was 2.33. I think he only had 2 games last year that he had a shorter time to throw.
And that's amazing with the amount of play action that they're using.
Right.
That's incredible with the amount of play action that they're using, because play action, just by definition, increases your time to throw because you're having to fake.
Yep.
So the under center numbers
with him, which was awesome. Like,
they're doing.
They did everything.
All of these different stuff. Every aspect of it is making the game easier on their players. Yeah. Everything that they're doing are all these easy buttons that we've wanted them to spam for years. You mentioned the play action. Dak has been under center at the second highest rate in the league over the last 2 weeks. Dak, that's not what they used to do. It used to be a shotgun, sit back, let him do everything offense. Okay. He has used so far over the last 2 games, 48.2% of his dropbacks have been play action. That leads the NFL. That is the highest rate in the league over the last 2 weeks. Last year, he was 18th.
Yeah.
The gap is immense. And you watch what they're doing out of it, and it all makes sense. He's ripping the ball, and some of the deep overs that they were running are a way to create explosive plays, which, if there's one thing I'm worried about with this offense, still, where are they going to get explosive passing plays from? Similar to what we talked about last year. But a way to create some of those explosive passing plays is to use a little bit more play action. And that's what they're doing under center. There was a stretch that I absolutely loved. Though, by the way, the keeper that he had in the red zone, I also want them to do more of that. Use his legs as you get down in the red zone.
3 designed runs today. They only had 1 game last year of 3 designed runs. They only had 2 games last year with more than 1. They had 1 game of 2, 1 game of 3, and about like 5 or 6 games of 1. And they
don't have to do it all the time.
No,
just like this. In the red zone is a
red
perfect
zone
way to do it.
It's short yardage. Red zone, short yardage, high leverage situations. That's when you use it, and he can do it. That's why he's great.
So second and 2, I think at about 7:30 in the first or second quarter. I didn't write it down in my notes. It doesn't matter. They ran a little play action slide screen. They threw it to Dalton Schultz, first down. Really easy completion. Okay, just make it simple. Next play, Bears blitz. He hits Schultz immediately for an 8-yard gain. Immediately. Okay. 2nd and 2. They're in a 3-by-1. He rips a slant to Michael Gallup as the singled up receiver. Just sees it, takes it, money. And then that drive ends with that touchdown to CeeDee Lamb. And you just see all of it. You see all of those different things because he is really good against the blitz. And he is a really good drop back passer when you ask him to do that. But why not make everything else easier on the way to those moments?
Right.
And that's what they've done over the last 2 weeks. It's like, this is it. Like, this combined with the way that their defense can play when it's really rolling makes them a really dangerous team. And that is before we even get to the Tony Pollard side of this.
Right. But it's just, I appreciate it always with the Cowboys offense and with Dak was like, they could do the hard shit. And that's why I liked it. And that's why I like the Bucks offense with Arians and everything, or now Leftwich, was they could do the hard stuff. But even the Bucks offense, how much they would throw screens. I mean, we saw it on Thursday night, receiver screen. That's hitting easy buttons. But that
you can't run the ball. It's the only way you can do it.
Right. Exactly. When you want to keep giving carries to Leonard Fournette. But it's also like with this offense, this is having every tool available is so hard to defend. When you can do everything well, it is so hard to defend for a defense because you can lean in as an offense. You can start leaning into what works that day. It's, oh my God, wow, they have no check for this. They have no check for the zone read. They have no check for this under center gap scheme we're running. But we can't run that gap scheme if we're in shotgun. But we can do it under center. And guess what? We have a play action off of it. Like just those little things that they can add on to it. Like that's what's cool. And I know you're about to talk about the run game too. But that ties in with their run game because I think this type of offense is so much better with under center runs, but they can do the shotgun runs as well. Like, so they just sprinkle in everything. And when you can do it well, and when you have a Dak who I had somebody reply to me last year, and it's like, yeah, they call him Dakota Breeze. He's so accurate. And he's such a smart player. That's how he plays. And it's a weird disconnect with how people view Dak and how he actually plays. But watching him today, when he's on, like he's missing low on slants in a good way. I mean that in a good way. He's saving guys hits. Oh my God. It's like they can do anything they want.
Ball placement has been awesome. And after the injury, I was a little bit worried. How is he going to throw the ball? And the fact that he's looked so good physically is really encouraging. There was a drive in the third quarter where they got him on the move multiple times. Like big fake pitch, big boot, getting him I like him on the move. He's athletic.
It's mostly exaggerated fake movements ever too.
And I love it. I love that kind of stuff from him. And I just want to see more of it. He ripped the ball to CD on that same drive on the move. And the fact that he looks that good throwing the ball I really like it.
And
the Pollard stuff.
He's using cadence, like the free play to Dalton Schultz over the middle. So he's using cadence to get a guy jump off sides. He's getting free plays off that. Sorry, I know I keep cutting you off before you get the Pollard, but it's just
the fact that he's hit the ground running like this with all the little things after being hurt is really encouraging. I was so impressed by the way that they played today.
Too.
And then you fold the Tony Pollard side of this thing in. We got to take Jerry's hand off the button.
Right.
Him coming out after that game and saying that we're going to go as Zeke goes, and when he gets back, the roles aren't going to change. We got to let this go. I don't know if he's just saying that to say it because he's trying to save face with a player that he has supported a lot in the past. We can't do this anymore because you have a quarterback who is one of the best quarterbacks in the league at mitigating an opposing pass rush because of the stuff he can do mentally. So I think that a lot of these teams, you need the best pass protecting running back in there right now because your quarterback or your center aren't equipped to deal with the problems that somebody's going to present. Dak can do a lot of that himself. So that if Zeke is a better pass protector, that list is that doesn't really matter as much to me as some of this other stuff. Okay. Right now, Tony Pollard leads the NFL in EPA per rush. He is number one in the NFL. Zeke is 31st. Tony Pollard is third in success rate among running backs. Zeke is 27th. And when I see those numbers,
that's the most damning one.
Correct. Because it's not just big plays.
If Zeke's not being explosive, he better be freaking efficient. And so
exactly.
That's the most
now we're running out of reasons. And so when I see numbers like that, my curiosity starts to get kicked up. I'm like, oh, well, they play on the same team, but let's control for some other factors. Maybe the situations that Pollard is used in, he's running into heavier boxes or lighter boxes. The game's easier on him. Tony Pollard right now is fourth in the NFL in the percentage of his runs that go into boxes or 8 or more guys. Fourth in the league. And he's first in EPA per rush and fourth in success rate. This is over.
Yeah, there's no argument now. I mean,
this is over. Like he has been one of the best running backs
because that's the one
season when given opportunities.
That's the one thing Zeke had was that Pollard can't run between the tackles, so and he
we're
can't done. If he could show it, and he's proven it. I mean, all these short yardage runs are going for home runs because he's hit the hole right, and now he has the explosive ability to take it the distance. So the argument's over.
He doesn't need to carry the ball 30 times a game.
No.
If you want to spell him and you want to make sure that he's getting enough rest and you're not putting him in harm's way, they gave Davis 8 carries today. CD was lined up in the backfield a ton, which was kind of weird, but I don't, whatever.
I got to look at this. Somebody said they were using some funky personnel today.
He lined up in the backfield relatively often. Yeah. They were doing some weird stuff. But if they want to give Zeke one out of every third carry in order to give Pollard a little bit of a break, that's totally fine with me. But we are in a place where you're committing malpractice if you're not making Tony Pollard the centerpiece of your backfield and the guy that gets the majority of the carries by a lot based on what he has been so far. He's not just like pretty good. He's not just one of the backup running back, then the guy that gets these 5-7 carries a game. Every once in a while, it's like, oh man, that guy seems to have a lot of juice. Like we should get him more touches. And then as the volume goes up, the efficiency goes down. The exact opposite thing happened today.
Yep.
So what are we doing here?
It's just basically the 2/3, 1/3, like how many touches they get. Flip it. Just flip it. If it used to be, whatever, I'm just making up numbers, 15 and 9, like that Zeke got 15 and Pollard got 8 or 9. Flip it. Now it's
Yes.
Pollard gets 15 and Zeke gets 8 or 9, whatever it is. I do want to mention also is the other stat I came across was Dak had first down on his attempts. 55% of his attempts went for a first down today. He only broke 50% once last year, and that was 53% against the Eagles early on in the season. So like he was guns blazing today. Like this was last year. He was like after 6-7 weeks, we're like, oh, and even looking at the odds, he was MVP candidate. The fact that today he torched that, like had a better performance than he did all the first half of last year is saying something. It's pretty cool watching him play and them sorting out this run game. It's like, it's a pretty dynamic offense going on right now.
And it's so different. The different buttons they're pushing, these are the things that I've wanted them to do forever with him.
Yep.
And that them running what was the Cooper Rush offense with Dak. Look at what happens.
Look at that.
Look at what the results are when you run an easier offense for your better quarterback. That's what we're seeing right now. So
pretty good.
I'm excited to watch them potentially keep rolling like this because he is fun to watch when he's playing as well.
I want to watch that last guy is the Kevontae Turpin guy, the USFL guy.
He's got something to him.
Dude's got some juice.
They got him the ball in space. But I want that. Even the touch that he got, that was something I filed away where it's like, ooh, I like that. Like if we're trying to find juice within this offense, because it is the concern that you have, find a guy who can provide that for you and get the ball in his hands every once in a while.
Yes. And it's not theory. It's not like, oh, this is a good design for our gadget guy. Sometimes your team has a gadget guy, quote unquote. I'm doing air quotes right now, in the sense that it's like, oh, this guy's a little shifty. He's this little 5'6", 180 guy. The guy sucks. But it's great when you have a gadget play for a guy that's actually good. Like that's when you actually make these gadget touches for a guy that actually can create some plays. It's fun. It's fun. So like this is like a legit gadget guy that I want to see them use once or twice.
All right. Next one here. Veterans that were traded for a lot this offseason or recently. This is the convoluted way of saying A.J. Brown, Tyreek Hill, and Christian McCaffrey. You guys have my attention. Wow.
Yeah.
Some monster games today from these guys. Obviously, A.J. Brown scored all the touchdowns, but Tyreek had another huge game. We'll get into some of the numbers here. These guys, I think, personify this, but a really fun fantasy football day for the first time all season. I mean, just guys going off. It was enjoyable in a way that we haven't really gotten for offensive football this year. And I think a lot of these guys were at the center of it. I want to start with Tyreek. 12 catches for 188 yards. As things currently stand, Tyreek Hill is on pace for 2,042 yards receiving this season.
That's insane.
Okay.
That's insane.
Some of these other numbers, he is number 1 in the NFL in the EPA generated on his receptions, which is not surprising. Yeah. He is 4th in the total EPA created on his targets. He is 6th in the NFL in yards per target. That is very hard to do when you're getting this volume of targets. Yep. Typically, efficiency goes down when volume increases because you're inevitably going to be put in less efficient situations. Yep. That has not been the case with him. What they are doing with him in the passing game right now is absolutely insane.
It's insane. Well, going into last week, into this week, I should say, he was the highest yards per route run since 2012 and the second highest first downs per route since 2012. That might be better after today. I mean, he might have topped Devontae Adams from a few years ago. But watching him, God, this game was like the epitome of it. Like all 3 levels that this guy is just like everything he does. The short stuff that he would maybe do with the Chiefs, like on their RPO stuff, or maybe the flats and the bubbles. And then he'd make a 1-yard gain turn into an 8-yard gain. And we would talk about how those are like the hidden yards that like a guy like Tyreek creates. Like he creates those yards out of nothing. The intermediate stuff is where it's like, wow, like that is something. I knew Tyreek had it, but seeing, because the Shanahan offenses that, especially that they're running with the Dolphins right now, all those in-breakers that happen over the middle of the field, and watching Tyreek and Waddle on those is like, it's magic. It's so, because he is pushing guys deep and all the defenders have to get depth, and then he just snaps them off and breaks over the middle of the field, and it just creates so much space for two.
That's exactly it. And
so
it is a perfect recipe, because I never really thought about this, but it's the play action. Yeah. So the space is only compounded because of the way the offense is structured. So Tua used play action on 57% of his dropbacks today. 57%. Okay. Marcus Mariota leads the league at 47, and that's going to be a 10-year high.
Yeah.
So I believe Tua is second in the NFL. So when you're using play action, what is the effect that we often think of with play action? The linebackers are stepping up. So there's one play from this game that I thought was particularly illuminating. So they use it. It was 2nd and 5 with about 13:43 left in the first half, I think. And they're at midfield, and do the first picture, Beller. They're at midfield, and you see the linebacker step up right after their ball's at midfield. You see the linebacker step up. So the linebackers eventually get to the 47-yard line is where the linebackers are. When the ball is thrown, the post safety is at the 20-yard line. Okay. So think about that. The linebackers have stepped up to the 47. The post safety is at the 20. That is 27 yards of space.
Yep.
That space is created because the safety is bailing out of there because he's so worried about Tyreek beating him over the top.
Yep.
So now you have all of that space created because the linebackers are stepping up, and all of that space created because the safeties are bailing out. So you're pulling the defense in two different directions. So when you're looking at why he has so much space and separation in these situations, that's why. So it's a perfect offense for him to dominate the intermediate areas of the field because of how much play action that they're using. And I thought that today was a great example of that.
And then on top of it, like, no, that's such a great example because it's just how much that he's able, because like he'll catch a ball over the middle and then he's creating 5 extra yards like before the safeties can even respond. So it's like, oh God. So it's like everything just amplifies. It's just an amplify effect on everything, just everything that they do. Like, but even on like 3rd and extra long, you can see that Tyreek Hill effect because they had the touchdown against the Bills a few weeks ago. 3rd and extra long, it was to Waddle. It was, a double move, 7 up, they go to there. But then I just remember the 2017 Chiefs offense with Alex Smith. And remember when Alex Smith was going bombs away? That's what this offense does now on 3rd and extra long with Tua. And he caught the one. I want to say they ran a double move. It was off the screen. I can't remember what the replay was, but it was a little shorter throw. But then Tyreek plants his foot. It was like a 3rd and 12, goes and catches it right there. But catches over 2 guys. Seriously, like that's.
So I wanted to talk about that play.
Oh, you did? Okay.
It was 3rd and 13.
Okay.
The Lions were in a cover 0 look.
Yep.
And Tua clearly sees it before the snap, and he just lets it go. He's like, I need just enough time to let this thing go because I know they're cover 0. As long as I get the ball off, that's all I need to do. And Tyreek goes up over 2 guys to make that play.
Yep.
Up over 2 guys. So it's just, and that's what they're doing right now. So you have this 3rd and 13 extra long look. He's like, as long as I get this ball in the air, he's going to go make this play. And that's exactly what's happening right now. So the ball is underthrown.
And they went 0 bracket on it. Oh my God. That totally just, that's mind blowing actually what they did. It's not
so the ball is underthrown when he throws it, but it doesn't matter because Tyreek goes and makes that play. So it is just this combination of, I think Tua is playing pretty well. I think there are elements of this game that I thought were pretty impressive. I mean, he had one throw where he's moving the linebacker with his eyes and putting the throw back into a void. Like the ways he's operating in the intermediate areas of the field are very, very good. He is the point guard of this offense, and that's all he needs to be with the way that it's structured and the juice that they have. The Gesicki touchdown was awesome. They had Waddle lined up in the backfield, and they had Hill sit down over the ball, and they had Waddle kind of run a little bit of an angle route out of the backfield. So they high load the linebacker with Waddle. So it's all of this. You talk about splashing the water. It's like, we're going to get our guy who has 2 touchdowns today.
Hey, what's that?
We're going to splash the water with him in the backfield and then run a little high low and get it to the tight end for an easy touchdown. Yep. So they have these guys who are just all explosiveness all the time, and a quarterback who is doing a really good job of just distributing the ball where he should in these moments. And I think that is the recipe for why they look the way that they look on offense right now.
Oh man. But even that's the thing, is like Tyreek's been exceptional. And then like what you mentioned with Waddle too, it's that Waddle
hell of a number 2. Hell of a number 2.
God. Waddle's touchdown in the red zone is, so it's a long, again, talk about Tua having a plan. I think that's what it is with Tua. Tua always has a pre-snap plan. Whether he can get to a post-snap has been a question mark. And this year, I think McDaniel's just done an awesome job of going like, this is your post-snap plan too, dude. Like, just go here and use your accuracy and get the ball to that guy. And I actually thought Tua this is the most I felt like he created all season was this game, which is awesome to see. But that touchdown to Waddle in the red zone was so cool because I should say it was so cool. It was just so wow, these guys are freaking awesome. Is Waddle's in the slot coming all the way opposite the field, and on that type of read, you read the boundary side, and what Waddle's route is, which was essentially an over in the red zone, the low red zone, is that it's just a runaway. Yeah, it's a long over. It's a runaway route that you throw late in your progression because you know that's gonna be a long developing route. No one's even near Waddle because he's so freaking fast. Like that's usually a contested catch. You throw like a little tight space, you hit a guy on the shoulder, you line that baby in there. Tua didn't even have to because Waddle just has so much speed and he creates so much space in just those little tight areas. And that's what we talk about, especially in the red zone. It's hard to throw it, but creating that much space as a receiver like is exceptional. And it's just really cool to watch this offense because McDaniel's doing an amazing job week in, week out, just using these guys exactly how they should be used, and just window dressing, splashing water when he needs to, but just putting the guys in the right spots. It's like he doesn't over gimmick it. He's like, this play is really good.
It's the perfect amount of gimmick.
Yeah, right. It's like this. Hey, it's gold dust from WWF. It's like it's just the perfect amount of gimmick. But it's like, let's have Waddle. Okay, we really like this play. We like this high low. So let's not have our number 3 receiver do it. Insert name here. Let's have our freaking number 1 or number 2 do it. That's what helps when you have 2 dudes because you can kind of, hey, this guy's the decoy and this guy's the main on this route. And he's doing a great job of it. I want to commend him because it's really fun to watch this offense using concepts that I've seen other offenses use, especially in the Shanahan stuff. But he's just doing such a good job of getting these awesome players in the right spots.
All right, let's move on here. Christian McCaffrey, big day on his first full week with the 49ers. 18 carries, 94 yards, 8 catches for 55, 2 scores of his own, and a passing touchdown. I think that we got a little bit of a hint of what the 49ers plan is for Christian McCaffrey here moving forward.
Only the 4th player since the merger, the AFL-NFL merger, to have a rushing, receiving, and a passing touchdown in the same game.
It's the LT. It's the Tomlinson.
LT and Walter Payton are 2 of those 2 of those 3 names other than him. So that's a pretty fun bunch. But I mean, I tweeted this. It's the thing with CMC is not only he's a great receiver and he is a great just ball carrier, but every type of run is available to him. When he was at Stanford, this was so cool with him. And when he was in Norv Turner's offense in Carolina and Scott Turner's offense he can run power. He's not just a zone runner. He's not just this type of concept runner. Everything's available. He can get to the edge. He can run in between the tackles. He's got great vision. He's got great timing and pacing on his runs. But on top of it, he's of course, an exceptional receiver. He was on the field today for 42 snaps. He had a rusher target on 27 of those snaps.
Wow.
So 20 routes today, and he caught a first down on 5 of those 20 routes. So 25% of his routes, he caught a first down on, which is it's outstanding numbers. I think the league leader in those is usually about 15%. So just a crazy performance from him. And I can talk about his route running in sec, but just an unbelievable player.
It's really funny because all the stuff we just talked about with Hill and Waddle, that's the kind of stuff that was jumping out to me about McCaffrey today, is them using him. Decoy isn't really the right word. Using his gravity as a receiver to impact the game otherwise. There were 2 plays that I noticed. It was a big chunk to George Kittle in the first half, and they high-load the linebacker with McCaffrey running the angle route.
Yep.
And they hit it up to Kittle over the top.
Up the seam, right? Yep.
Yeah. With that play, with McCaffrey running that route, he has a gravity to him that most running backs aren't going to have in that situation. And then the Kittle touchdown, they're running McCaffrey into the flat, and Rapp responds to him. He's not even the flat defender, but he sees McCaffrey and responds to him, and then Kittle's open in the corner for a touchdown. So on top of all of the stuff he did with the ball in his hands, I think that he's impacting the game in some quieter ways as well. And if you're trying to talk yourself into this as a plan, trading for Christian McCaffrey and giving up all that you did for him, his ability to make everything around him better within the offense is the only way to justify it. And I still think it's probably a little bit of a stretch, but this is the type of stuff, and these are the type of impacts and influence that I think that you need in order to really sell yourself on what they paid to go get him.
I mean, and this was the play. It was the first drive for them. When you're saying the difference between like a CMC and just a replacement level back, I'll just say that is he runs the zone play on the first drive and he runs through Ernest Jones, his arm tackle on the zone play. It's blocked for 1 yard. I think it was a 2nd and 4. It's blocked for 1 yard. Like that's the first line of contact's at 1 yard. He gets 8 on it. He creates 7 yards running through that tackle. And on the next second down, so they had the first down play, the next second down, he has a swing route and he's like 3rd in the progression. And this is where CMC comes alive. And this is where having good players throughout your offense come like really opens things up. Is he's not the primary on this read. He's 3rd in the progression. Jimmy G gets to him on the swing route. He has to outraces Bobby Wagner easily and creates a first down off of that. I think it was like a 2nd and 6. Gets a first down there. So he's creating first downs for stuff that was supposed to be okay plays, and he turns them into good plays. That
breaking case for emergency stuff turns into positive plays.
Correct. It's not, oh, wow, this should have gotten us 2 yards. Okay, that's fine. That's all we got. No, it's a 10-yard play. Okay, that's all right. Thanks, guys. Like that, as a coach, that's really nice when players do that for you. And and the last play is, Beller, we can call this one out too, is that the plays that are designed for him, he's freaking awesome. Is a choice route here on 3rd down. Is a choice route, you're supposed to release the route outside of the D end or the edge rusher. And a choice route is you either have to sit an out or an inside angle route. And this was a 3rd and 7, beginning of the second quarter. He runs a choice route. The rusher for the Rams gets super wide. So rather than panic, he just inserts inside of him. And then on top of that, he doesn't panic because the safety is the one covering him as opposed to a typical linebacker. He doesn't get, God, I almost said, I'm going to say antsy. So I'm sorry. I used to have a coach I used to say, he was like, don't get horny here. So I almost said that, but I'll say it anyways. He doesn't get horny and try to break in and go for the big play. He understands that safety is rotating down to cover him. So he still breaks out on it. And on top of it, he's 2 yards short of the sticks, breaks the tackle because he turns up inside and breaks another tackle. So he turns a play that could have gone wrong like 5 different ways and runs it like an exceptional route, catches the ball smoothly and breaks 2 tackles, creates a first down. That is what a good player does for your offense. It's something that's designed okay, and he turns it into a plus play for him. And that's what, I mean, seeing him today it was like, oh yeah, I see the light. I see the vision of this because this is really cool.
So now Debo didn't play today.
Right.
So when Debo gets back, you could probably make an argument that Brandon Ayuk is the 4th best pass catcher on the Niners.
Scary.
Brandon Ayuk is awesome. He's really good at football.
Yes.
And you could absolutely make an argument that he is the 4th best player catching the ball for the Niners.
That's awesome. That's
pretty good.
So cool.
And I mean, they spent a lot to get it, but you'd hope that you'd have this sort of impact that you watched today. All right.
It's not my team.
One here.
I just get to cheer it.
That's exactly right. AJ Brown, you have my attention. Holy shit.
Wow.
I mean, the first touchdown he catches, that's one of those moments where, and there were some of these from Tyreek today too, where he's just going up and making plays over 2 guys in traffic. And that's why you go get these guys.
Yep.
When you have a quarterback that you're not sure about, and you want to leave no doubt, that's why you go get these guys. We have a quarterback on a rookie contract. We are going to leave no doubt by the end of the season whether or not this guy can do it because we've given him every opportunity. And that first touchdown today, that's that play because he's just going up and making that play. And the fact that Jalen Hurts is ready to let that thing rip and comfortable doing it, I mean, that's pretty damn awesome. And then the second 2 today, those are just beautiful throws. He catches 3 touchdowns, and the second and third are just go balls down the right sideline, which that's not what AJ Brown was supposed to be.
No.
So him just dropping this little wrinkle into his game and into the Eagles passing game, pretty good.
AJ Brown ball winner was not what I was expecting to talk about him. He was the yak monster. That's what I love calling him. He's the yak monster. And all of a sudden he's just dunking on guys. The first one was amazing because AJ Brown kind of slowed down on his routes, double coverage. Doesn't even matter. Doesn't matter. Like just a score. And then they're scoring this, I think it was the second touchdown was because he had 3 today, was a pump bubble wheel go route, which is usually window dressing designer play that you run once a game to kind of like control for your bubbles. They ran that like 3 times today and they scored 2 touchdowns off of it. So just pump the bubble.
Pascal scored 1 too.
Yeah. And so, oh God, yeah. Shout out to Pascal. And rather than just catching, or just like it's to feign the blocking, and it's basically a double move. I mean, that's basically what you're doing on that. They're scoring 2 touchdowns. And this is what I've said about the Eagles offense. It's nothing. They run the most simple stuff you could think of, but they have such awesome players that why overthink it? Like, this is what they're good at. Let them be good at it. So it's really fun to watch. I mean, it's just, that was their advantage that they had against that Steelers offense today, or defense today, was their corners aren't very good. All right, let's attack them vertically.
Our players are better than yours.
Yeah. Let's make them defend it. That's awesome. Why overthink this? That's what's so great about this offense. And it was just the one stat I came across was the Eagles had the highest percentage of their targets going to 3 players, but it's also, again, it makes sense when you're 3 freaking players, or AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, and Dallas Goedert. Like, that makes sense. That's how your offense should be if you have those 3 players. So yeah, just fly Eagles fly, because this looks awesome when it's clicking like this.
The fact that he's doing this sort of damage as a vertical threat outside the numbers, and we didn't necessarily think that was going to be how they used him, is fantastic news.
Yep.
Also, incredible touchdown celebrations from AJ Brown today.
Top
Catches
notch.
the first one, does the too small, right? As he's running
Classic.
away. Which
Classic.
Classic.
A modern classic.
A classic because it works, right?
Yeah.
So
'Cause they
he does
do
the
it.
too small, which I absolutely loved. And then the third one, both defenders fell down and he pointed at each one of them. He got flagged for it, but worth it. What is it? Mighty Ducks 2 minutes, well worth it.
Yeah, 2 minutes.
15 yards, well worth it. That's
yeah.
exactly how I felt about the AJ Brown celebration today.
Yeah.
So fantastic. He's 10th in the NFL in yards per target, similar to what we're talking about with Tyreek Hill. I mean, if you're going to get that many targets and you're still going to be that efficient on them, and he is 5th in the league in EPA created on his targets this season. That's why you make a move like this.
He hit the underneath route. He took for like 30 yards. Like, it's just like everything, get the ball in his hands, and good things happen when you get the ball in his hands.
I really do think that this is instructive. If we're looking at this and we're trying to gather team building lessons from it, the Tyreek Hill trade, the Jalen Hurts trade, it hasn't worked out as well with Devontae, but I think that's a different situation, right? I mean, because with this, the money and all of that is not that prohibitive. It obviously is. There's opportunity costs whenever you make a decision like this. But when you're operating with these rookie quarterback contracts and you have these 2 teams that have excess capital in the draft, and you go out and make a move like this as a way, again, to leave no doubt about where your quarterback is. And let's say we got to the end and Jalen Hurts and Tua weren't the guys, which I think they're slowly proving that they might be guys worth investing in for next year.
Yep.
You've built it for the next guy.
Yeah.
Whoever it happens to be. So if you're a team next year that has all of your draft picks and $105 million in cap space, I don't know who that would be, but if you're a team that has $105 million in cap space and all of your draft picks next year, and there is a veteran receiver that you think might be available that could jumpstart the development of your young quarterback that you're not sure about, I don't know, consider it. Just give it a thought.
I don't know. Do you have a close proximity to that team?
I'm watching that. I'm watching those plays. I'm watching the first AJ Brown touchdown. I'm watching both Tyreek plays where he's going up and making a jumping, leaping catch over 2 guys. It's like, I want some of that.
Yeah.
Like, I want somebody to go make a play for the quarterback that I want to develop. I just want somebody to go make a play.
It's a lot of fun. Oh, also, by the way, there's some great celebrations today because there's actually some scoring, and there's some good ones. Like Jalen Waddle's Waddle touchdown might be my favorite.
Adorable. It's adorable.
Awesome. I love it.
It's so great.
Because he leaned into it. He embraced
he leaned so hard into it. And I'm a huge fan of that.
Big fan of that. Don't always have to look cool. Like, you embrace the celebration. That's what's awesome. As I know with my movie posters and board games behind me. Frank Ragnow reeled in Jamal Williams like a fish. That one was pretty good. Jamal Williams just seems like a treat. Like, he just seems like a peach.
He certainly is. Yes.
Yeah. And then we had the Jake Ferguson hog tie celebration. And you could tell the tight end
on a day where Jared Allen was honored by the Vikings.
Yeah.
Coincidence, but great.
That's nice. I was that one was hilarious because you always tell which rooms planned the celebrations because all three tight ends looked at each other like, and then Dalton Schultz was like, "Okay, I'll go down. I got you. I thought that was so funny.
I think it was the Jags had a sit and sip tea celebration. The defensive linemen did. So they clearly had one that was also done. It was a great fantasy day for a lot of people, I'm sure. Yeah. Finally, a good fantasy day. I went up against Jalen Hurts, Derrick Henry, and Tony Pollard today. So not a super great day for me. But I hope you guys.
It was like 130 in a non-PPR league.
It was he won 135. I mean, I still have a shot with Burrow tomorrow, but we're not going to talk about that. Nobody cares about our fantasy teams. All right, we're going to take one more quick break. And then we're going to talk about the absolute train wreck that the 2021 quarterback class was today.
Can't wait.
Reserve Bar is your online source for premium and luxury spirits, wine, and champagne. And now, Reserve Bar offers same-day delivery. Reserve Bar has a lineup of rare, hard-to-find bottles, premium brands, celebrity spirits, and limited releases that you just won't find at your local store. No one does gifting better than Reserve Bar. Looking for an elevated gift? ReserveBar.com has you covered, and you can have that gift delivered right to your door. Getting into home bartending? Reserve Bar has everything you need. Spirits for the shelves, sure, but they also have every barware tool and glass you'll need to find. Visit ReserveBar.com today and use promo code MAYS to save $10 off your first purchase of $75 or more on spirits, wine, or pre-made cocktails, but only when you use our special offer at ReserveBar.com with code MAYS. That's ReserveBar.com and code MAYS. This offer expires December 31st, 2022. Guys, you've got to do yourself a favor and try Saxx. I've been talking about them a lot lately. They make the most comfortable underwear for men, thanks in large part to their patented ballpark pouch. Saxx underwear is legitimately life-changing, and they just announced Steph and Trayvon Diggs as new partners of the company. They have the softest styles, and their sport line is next level. Athletic shorts, compression tights, all with the ballpark pouch. I love the Gainmaker 2-in-1 short. They've sent me a couple pairs. Really particular about the workout shorts that I use. I like a built-in compression short and kind of really soft material. That's exactly what the Gainmakers are. They've been a regular part of my workout routine and wardrobe for a while now. And here's the kicker. Everything is backed by Saxx's Comfort Guarantee. That's 100% satisfaction or your money back. So head on over to Saxx.com/Mays and get 10% off plus free shipping using our promo code MAYS today. That's SAXX.com/MAYS and promo code MAYS at checkout for 10% off and free shipping. Erectile dysfunction is probably more common than you guys think. 52% of men over 40 experience some form of erectile dysfunction in their life. If you're experiencing ED, there is help. Roman is the digital health clinic for men. Roman offers genuine FDA-approved medication for as little as $4 per dose. At Roman, there's no waiting room and no hassle, just a straightforward and convenient digital experience, which means you can take care of all of it from the comfort of home. Getting started is simple. Just grab your laptop or mobile device and start your free online visit. A U.S. licensed healthcare professional will work with you to find the best treatment plan. If medication is appropriate, Roman sends it out to your door with free 2-day shipping. Everything arrives in discreet packaging. Right now, Roman has a special offer for our listeners. Use this link to get 20% off your first order. Just go to ro.co/Mays today. That's ro.co/Mays for 20% off.
We're still cool, man. We're still cool. I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed.
We could have done this a bunch of different ways. Originally, it was just going to be Trevor Lawrence and Zach Wilson after the way that they played. And they were like, well, we might as well throw Mac Jones in there. Yeah. I mean, of the first-round quarterbacks from the 2021 draft class, the only one who played well today was Justin Fields, and we're not going to talk about it. No one say anything about how the last 2 weeks have gone. Sit exactly where you're sitting and shut up. Okay? We'll handle this later.
Okay. I wrote about the run game and I was like, oh, I already jinxed it. He had one good game. Okay.
It's not happening. Everyone be quiet about it. All right. Let's start with Trevor Lawrence because I think that I want to talk about the way that Trevor Lawrence played today, but I want to use it as a way to have a larger conversation about the Jags and Trevor Lawrence specifically. Fully ready to admit, we got a little excited about the Jaguars.
We did.
After that Chargers game, we got a little bit excited. And there's a lot of stuff happening with the Jags right now. It's very important to point out that the Jags were a borderline top 10 team in offensive and defensive EPA heading into this game, right? Mm-hmm. The Jags are 0-6 in one-score games this season. 0-6. The Jaguars are probably closer to a 500 team. what is happening right now? It's not like the sky is falling. They're not awful. They're not terrible. And neither is Trevor Lawrence. So I want to dig into some of the nuances here of what he's doing well, what he's doing poorly, what Trevor Lawrence really is right now, and what that says about where Trevor Lawrence can eventually go. So let's start with the downsides and the kind of the deficiencies that you've seen today and recently.
They have a electrical fence at the 20 yards past the line of scrimmage when they throw the ball. Like I made the joke that it's like one of those germ ads or filter ads when you see all the germs hitting the filter and it's like 99.9%. But that's how it looks when you look at their heat charts and their target maps past 20 yards. You only see like 3 or 4 balls going through each game. And why that is, and I'll start with a negative with Trevor Lawrence, and this is why my original comparison with him, I actually feel better about today, is like a supercharged Matt Ryan. He's not the greatest deep ball thrower. He's just not. That's not his game. He has a fine deep throwing arm. That's not his game. He is a guy that thrives in the intermediate areas. He has the arm strength to push or to drive the ball, but not throw the deep ball. That's that 2 different types of arm strengths. And that's what he is I think, very good at driving the ball. There's a play against the Colts where it's a 3rd down play. And on this play, should have been the game-winning drive for the Jaguars. So this was last week or a couple weeks ago. It's all convoluted now. And 2 weeks ago. And he's driving this corner route into essentially triple coverage. It's a zone coverage. The corner is falling underneath this throw. It's a corner route out of empty formation. So he knows that he only has 5-man protecting, even with the chip help. He looks at the low route. It's a high-low, gets the corner to hold, drives this throw, and puts it on the freaking money on time. And it's like, it's awesome. It's very good arm strength. It's very good timing, very good footwork. Everything is perfect, exceptional read. And he does this all the time. And that's what's the thing with him. He's a long twos. I've said this is a long twos offense. He's a long twos shooter. He almost thrives in this type of hard throw area, and he can do this consistently. He is top 5 in sack rate, which he was up there last year as well. The other guys that are up there in sack rate are some guys you might have heard of. It's Patrick Mahomes, it's Tom Brady, it's Justin Herbert, it's Josh Allen, and it's Trevor Lawrence. Those are the names that are top 5 in sack rate because he is really freaking good at avoiding sacks. He's really good at his pocket movement. He's really good at finding throws. He's a really good processor. I say all that, and then I want to yell at him and call him a freaking hippie for throwing that interception at the 1-yard line on a throw late over the middle in the red zone, which is like 4 layers of no there. And he already made this mistake against the Texans to Derek Stingley. Same mistake. And that's why I want to wring his neck. And it was on 1st down. So that's where the negatives with him is that, yes, I appreciate all these great things. His process is so good. And this is why the difference between there's process and results with these players. Trevor's process, typically 95% of the time, is very good. And that's why I'm a fan of him. It's just that once in a while he does some boneheaded mistake, the intentional grounding, which I understood he was trying to do the right thing in the 2-minute drill to not take a sack and knock him out of field goal range, but he wasn't outside the pocket when he threw that ball away. So it's just like he's trying to do these right things, but then he just messes up, and it can be annoying to watch. And you got to remember that progress isn't always on a linear path with a guy like this. But
there's 20 games in his career, and his rookie year was a nightmare.
Yes,
it was an absolute nightmare, and that's important. And I have to tell myself that
all the time
with these guys. Like he's not going to be a finished product right away, and the process over results thing is exactly right. And he's kind of a hard player to categorize right now because there's a lot of good and a decent amount of bad, right? So there was a play today. It was, I can't remember when it was 1st and 10 and with 3:23 left in the first quarter. And it's just a simple play. 3 technique gets some pretty quick pressure. He steps up in the pocket, steps up and out, finds a tight end for an 8-yard gain on 1st and 10. It doesn't look crazy. He does this all the time. His pocket mechanics and pocket movement and awareness are excellent for a quarterback of really any experience level, let alone somebody who's only played for a year. And so that's the biggest gap between where he is and where someone like Zach Wilson is.
Right.
Zach Wilson's is horrendous.
Yeah.
Zach Wilson has absolutely no feel for where he should be in the pocket and how to navigate that space. Trevor Lawrence is excellent at that.
Yes.
The problem is that good stuff is mixed with a decent amount of bad stuff. So he is a long twos thrower right now. That's where he's throwing the ball. He's very good when it looks good. It's way too inconsistent. Like way too inconsistent. Right now, this season, he is 33rd of 35 quarterbacks in on-target percentage on intermediate throws between 10 and 20 air yards. The only two guys worse than him are Joe Flacco and Davis Mills.
Oof.
And it's rough because so on the first drive of the game, he has a corner out to Evan Ingram on the right sideline. Airmails it.
I know.
And then he comes back and throws it a corner out to Evan Ingram in the left pylon. That's gorgeous for a touchdown like 5 minutes later. And that's what's maddening is that the accuracy is all over the place. He's just spraying random throws for no reason. There was a comeback to Marvin Jones in this game, wide open on third down. And he just sails it 4 yards outside. And it's like, Jesus, man. So the scatter shot accuracy is a concern. And the decision-making every once in a while. Every once in a while, his brain just breaks the way that it did on that throw to Justin Simmons today on the one to Derek Stingley.
Yeah.
So you can't, it's not all black and white. Like guys aren't good or bad, right? No. That's not how it works, especially with young quarterbacks. So I think we have to step back and be like, all right, what does this mean and where can this go? Yeah. I was telling you this morning. I'm having a hard time thinking about who he reminds me of at this stage of the proceedings, because the other guy who was doing some good stuff and then there'd be scattershot accuracy issues was Josh Allen, right? That's how Josh Allen was early in his career. But Josh Allen had this overwhelming physical ability that Trevor Lawrence just doesn't have. We talked about it with the arm. Like his arm is good, but not great. It's not like a top tier arm like Josh Allen's is. So if you're going to have that good, but not great arm, if you're a very good processor, if you handle the pocket well, and we can work on some of the accuracy issues, what does that make you? And Matt Ryan's probably a pretty good best case scenario, but the accuracy stuff has to get fixed. Like that, the scatter shot throws that cannot continue if you're not going to have that upper tier ceiling with the physical gifts.
And that's what is. And it's what's so hard for me as anyone that follows me on Twitter and they know I'll break down the Jaguar stuff or heard me on the show. It's like, I'm a fan of him because all that hard stuff he does. And that's what's frustrating with him and this offense and just the skill players around him is I'm like starting, when I were 2 years into this, I'm like, okay, is that you? Or is that because Zay Jones is short 5 yards on a route? Because there's times I know the receiver is short and he'll line a throw, hit a guy basically right in the face, perfect throw, perfect timing. I'm like, okay, so that receiver was short, and I know they're short. When you watch enough this, based on the dropbacks, based on how long the dropback is, you can tell route depth. It's 5, 10 to 12 yards, 16, 18 yards, et cetera, et cetera. Zay Jones is short on his inbreakers every freaking time. But does Trevor adapt to that? And now he knows that. And now it's like one of those things where it's that outbreaker that he brought to Marvin Jones. I actually wrote that one down, the short comeback. I wrote that down because I'm like, I need to watch this. I need to watch this on all 22 because I'm like, is the route short? Why are you missing this so badly? Like it's because it's not just like, oh, he hit his knee. It's like he's trying the hard, like it's rather just pin a ball right on the guy's body. He's like, I'm going to go for the extreme hard throw. I'm going to go for the 10 out of 10 difficulty. And I'm going to put it right outside. It's like, sometimes you just got to pin it on the guy. And it's like, it's almost like that he has to learn to take layups and learn to make it easy on himself because he wants to just do all the hard stuff, not trick shots, but all the hard stuff. And I think sometimes that's the thing with Trevor Lawrence is when he has these bad games, the Eagles game this week, is that his game doesn't speak to the red zone channel. You're not going to see the trick shot throws on the red zone channel because he's a doubles hitter and he does all those doubles and it's great. And that's every time I watch him, it's so funny. I'll watch him like, man, this guy threw for 210 yards. Like, what the hell? And I watched all 22 of them and I'm like, this guy's freaking awesome because he does all these like middle ground stuff.
Process stuff is very good.
It's awesome. And that's what it's so hard. And I understand that I am a fan of him, but I just want to say that that's why he's a difficult eval sometimes. But then that's the eye test stuff. And then you look at the underlying numbers and all of it back it up that this guy's a good player. It's just that some of the stuff isn't good. But like, I mean, he has a same EPA per dropback as Justin Herbert. He has a same DYAR from Football Outsiders as Joe Burrow. He has, I think, EPA per dropback. He's better than Kyler, better than Lamar, better than Kirk Cousins, better than Aaron Rodgers. Like he's
16th right now. He is tied with Justin Herbert. He is 16th in the NFL. That's why it's important.
That's why. This is why it pisses me off. I'm sorry, and I know it's like shouldn't hang up about this, but it's why I get annoyed with this is that he's already fine. It's just that we're figuring out what his ceiling is.
That's exactly right.
Don't call him a freaking bust because he's not. He's already a fine, above average to good quarterback. We're figuring out what his ceiling is. So that's what I want to get across. He's already fine. It's just now, can he now do this, all the exceptional stuff that we want to see when we talk about these elite guys? And that's what I think he can get to it, but he has to become more consistent to get there. So that's what I just want to get across. This guy does a lot of things well, and he's already a fine starter.
I think that's exactly right. And it's, can you clean up the accuracy and consistencies in those one or two decisions? Because the underlying process is fine. The underlying process is good. The underlying process with Zach Wilson is a massive concern.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's get to Zach Wilson today. The number that I thought was just absolutely stunning. And this is with a 50-yard completion that he had to Garrett Wilson on the move in this game. That kind of highlight throw you're talking about to Garrett Wilson. This season, Zach Wilson is 9 of 47 for 141 yards and 5 interceptions when pressured.
Oh.
He's completing 19% of his passes and averaging 3 yards per attempt, and he is dead last pretty comfortably in EPA per dropback when pressured.
Oh my goodness.
It looks like that.
It does.
When you watch that game today, it looks like that. I would love a stat about where quarterbacks release the ball from. The amount of times he's making throws from 14 yards deep in the backfield because he's bailing and drifting. That when people are going to look at this conversation and think, well, you're giving Trevor Lawrence a pass and you're shitting all over Zach Wilson. That is the difference. Look at the ways they navigate and operate in that space. It couldn't be more different. And that is why I'm really, really worried about what Zach Wilson is going to eventually be. And I think that even if Trevor Lawrence's ceiling probably has some questions about it, the floor I'm not nearly as concerned about. Zach Wilson's floor is 6 feet under the ground right now based on the way that he's handling some of these situations.
It's the process and the results. And that's why we have to reiterate that, because his process is just, it's scatterbrained. Like the pressure stuff is very telling. Like it's not just statistically, you watch him and it's as soon as one, it feels like if one of his tackles moves into his line of vision, just a maneuver, he panics. That guy bails out. Even his best throw today in the first drive, or is it the first or second drive, his first quarter to Garrett Wilson, he bails. It was out of structure. Of course, all of his best throws are out of structure. He bails out of pocket, clean pocket. He hits the back of his drop and he's already bailing out of the pocket. And it was the right tackle is so used to it. He got already ready to, it wasn't planned. He already got ready to seal the D end inside because he was like, I know my guy's going to bail out of this pocket anyways. And he makes that. And his interception that he had, the first one that he had on it was a crossing route on third down. This actually ties into our conversation, by the way, about maybe offenses stagnate a little bit because it's a Shanahan offense that the Jets run and they have a hot built in and they don't adjust the protection. So there's a free runner, which is fine because in their theory is that they have a hot built in. He knows that. He drifts in the pocket for no reason. The pocket's clean, even though there's a free runner, and he has a crosser right over the middle. He just has to stand there. These aren't the easiest throws because it's a weird thing where you have to get it over the line and then drop it in on a crosser or something underneath. But he has time and a clean enough pocket to make that throw easily. If he knows what's going on with this offense, he would drop this in before the receiver would even hit the hash. and the guy gets a hash.
Before the linebacker even gets to the line of scrimmage.
The linebacker even knows what's going on. Like before anything happens, before the play even gets started, this ball should be completed. First down, done. And instead he drifts and he feels pressure. He feels it so quickly and not in a good way, in a bad way. Lawrence feels it in a good way. He maneuvers in the pocket and gets away from it. And so that's where those accuracy issues come in. And it seems so many times his footwork is so noisy. He has a very noisy footwork because he's so off balance. He's trying to feel himself. Sometimes he looks scattershot with his eyes. He's guessing on which side to go to. That's why some of his best throws are when he can just go one and done with a read on the outside. His touchdown to Conklin was this way. And you don't have to show the play, Beller, but touchdown to Conklin was this way. He knows he's going there. So his footwork is nice and clean. 1, 2, 3, balls out. And he can place it there. That's where you see his arm talent. But just the process to lead up to that point is just so all over the place. And now it's getting to the scary point where it's like, oh boy, can you ever do this? Because now he's spinning in the pocket every single time. He's like trying to break away, and he's spinning not to create a throw. He's spinning just to spin. And it's just to find it. He's trying to twirl towards freedom. And it's just not a good thing. Like, that's why you want to see him just plant his foot and rip a throw. And you don't see that often enough with him.
The interceptions are what are going to make headlines. They're going to be highlights that you watch on TV for the next 24 hours. They're going to be jokes on Twitter. It's the plays that didn't end up being interceptions for me today. It's the throws that the one down the right sideline went from his own end zone where he's just drifting, just floating the ball up the sideline. There was one down near the goal line that it was 2nd and 8 in the first quarter. It was 8:28 left. They started at the 10. It was from the 10. He threw the ball from the 23-yard line for no reason.
Yeah.
Just for no reason. He's just drifting back and just throwing the ball off balance. Contested throw. A difficult throw becomes even more difficult, and it falls incomplete. It's not some embarrassing highlight. It's not some abnormality or some like scatterbrained decision. It's just the process that he's playing with. And that is the most frustrating part of it. And that's the most concerning part of it, because that's what you see all over the place when you watch him right now. And you saw it in the Broncos game. This isn't something that's been a 1-week thing. When he gets any sort of heat around him, this is what has been happening. And I'd be pretty worried about it.
Yeah. It's as soon as he sees the pocket move out his peripheral, he panics, and not in a good way, not in a way to create. It's a way to like, oh shoot, I got to find something now. Because this is why Dak's a machine against pressure. All the best quarterbacks are, is because when they get blitzed, they go, oh, I'm about to gash you because I'm going to sit in here, lean into the punch, and I'm going to find a throw. He's looking to find a throw outside the pocket because it's nice and clean for him. You can just go, oh, okay, where's this guy? Okay, I can see everything now. But that's not you can't live that way. That you can find plays that way, but you can't live that way down to down. The last stat I had with him is that no quarterback has had more of the yards come after the catch at a higher percentage throws past the line of scrimmage than Zach Wilson. So not just screens and everything, but actual throws down the road. So he's getting a ton of help from his teammates.
Just think about those wheels to Breece Hall that turned into 75-yard touchdowns that were actually 15-yard throws.
Correct.
I mean, you can imagine all of them.
Or I even thought the one that he had Conklin on the sideline. I was on 3rd down. Conklin breaks like 4 tackles, like a elephant getting taken down by lions, like just running through everybody. And it's just, but he's getting help from his teammates. So you can't even just go, well, no one's breaking a tackle for him. It's like, no, they got some dudes doing some stuff. Like, you can't just use that argument. So it's just, the signs are getting worrisome. I mean, they really are.
So the guy right ahead of him in EPA per dropback when pressured this year, down here at the bottom of the league, is McCorkle Jones.
Fleetwood McCorkle.
I tweeted this during the first half of the game. He was painting like a masterpiece of spectacularly bad in the first half of the game. The pick 6 that got called back only gets called back because of a roughing the passer.
Right.
Just an unbelievable.
Not a defensive holding or anything like that.
It was just a decision where I'm just like, what is he doing? The amount of sacks he ate in this game where he didn't even move. I'm just like, what is happening? Like, is he not healthy enough to protect himself, but then he's scrambling every once in a while? Like, it seemed like his brain broke on like 6 or 7 different plays today. The 4th down, they had a 4th and 1 in the first half where they ran just a little slide kind of RPO into the flat. And he has Hunter Henry wide open in the flat, like wide open.
Yep.
And he just doesn't throw it to him. And we've seen this play a million times. The Eagles run this play all the time. The Cowboys ran this play for a first down. We talked about it earlier on the show. This is an easy first down. And he just doesn't throw the ball to Hunter Henry. And by the end of this first half, so the next time the Patriots got the ball for turnover, they just ran the ball a couple times and kicked the field goal. Like they weren't even going to put it in his hands.
Yeah.
So I don't really know what to say about the way that he's playing right now, because you could say like, oh, well, it's, Matt Patricia and Joe Judge and, you shit on just what the offensive plan and structure looks like. Bailey Zappe's been fine for the most part. He's been better than this. So I just don't really know what to say about why Mac Jones looks the way he does right now.
Yeah. And that's the thing with Jones, was that we knew his ceiling wouldn't be that high, even though some people try to argue it last year. His ceiling wouldn't be that high. He's not an overwhelming athlete. He's not overwhelming arm strength. He wins with his accuracy and his decision making. So the thing when you have to win with your accuracy and decision making, he is a good scrambler. We have established this. We talked about this last week. He's actually a very good scrambler, very efficient scrambler, but he's not a runner, a true, I'm going to create plays out structure and throw a ball sidearm, which what you kind of have to do these days. But the thing is, you can't be his like you're saying, he's eating those sacks. That's what it really felt like. It felt like he had a few times where he just said, whatever. And he just tucked it. Like he just came down, he held the ball and he was like, I'm good. I actually rewatched this game. I wasn't happy with how he played, like where I was like, oh wow, that was astounding. I actually wasn't as disappointed as I thought I would be, maybe like on some of the throws. Like he had a great anchor ball.
The sacks were the problem. The sacks and the Henry play, the sacks, the Henry play, and the pick six. Those are the ones where I was like, the sacks were the thing where I was like, what are you doing?
But that's the thing. He can't get away with that.
No,
like he can never be a mistake guy. He can never, when Patriots lose a game, I know they won this game. They lose a game, they'd ever and go like, oh, Mac Jones, had 5 shit plays. It's like, no, he should be a 0. His denominator should always be 0. And then it's about how many good plays did he have? Because his bar should always be so high. That's the difference between Trevor was the midline between these guys. Zach Wilson was pure creation, pure results, not process. Mac Jones was pure process. Trevor was in the middle. I do think Trevor's a better athlete than you give him credit for. He is a good athlete. Like he is.
Oh, I think he's a good athlete.
Yeah, he's a good athlete.
His arm is overwhelming.
Oh, okay. You say okay.
Yeah.
No, he's a good athlete. But that's the thing is like Mac was decision making like amazing, accuracy amazing, creation and the fact you don't want to see him tucking. You want to see him finding a throw, even if it's digging a throw. That's the Tom Brady special. I know I'm about to get sacked. Oh shoot! I just dig a throw at a guy's feet. And boom, just live to play another day. So that is where it's iffy to see a guy that he was doing this as a rookie, not doing it in his second year. And it just seems like there's a lot of those throws that maybe he would try last year. He took a sack on a third down, and they like to run like a all curls type concept on third down where everyone gets to the sticks. Last year, I saw him rip that throw, and I would compliment him because, like, man, this guy's got no arm strength, but he makes it happen because it's so early and so accurate, and he knows where to go. They ran that same concept today, and he took a sack on it. The ball, I could see on the TV copy, there's a guy on the hash that he could throw it to, and he was like, I don't want to make that throw, and he just takes a sack. And it's like, that's not what you want to see out of this guy. You should be building. Yes, he should be building on what he was doing last year, building on that stuff that he was doing last year. And really, it's not that terrible of a situation. And yeah, it's just not what you want to see out of this guy, who I thought would just have such a high floor overall.
The one other thing I wanted to say before we wrapped up here about Trevor Lawrence is that somebody in the chat asked a very good question. Like, where did we get this wrong? And like, maybe where did we not see the ceiling for him that we had for other like big time prospects in the top 5 or top 10? This is something I thought coming into this season, and I still think this. He's not a creative thrower. Like when the throws that he makes, those like lasers in the intermediate area that we like, that's when everything is moving in the right direction. When he's stepping into throws, his mechanics are very good, but he can be very robotic when he's playing the position. And I think that's the gap between him. When I'm talking about why I don't think he can be Josh Allen, when we're talking about the Josh Allen improvements and the accuracy getting right, Josh Allen's an immensely creative thrower. Yeah. And I just don't think Trevor's ever going to be a creative thrower. He is a good athlete. And in the intermediate area, he has again, the laser show can happen, but he's not a creative thrower. And I think that to me is one of the biggest things ultimately limiting his ceiling is that those guys who are truly the best quarterbacks in the league are creative throwers, or on top of that, they have like insane arms. Like Justin Herbert isn't maybe the most creative thrower off platform and things like that. He has an insane arm in a way that Trevor Lawrence just doesn't. And so I just think there are several different things kind of tamping down what his ceiling can eventually be, even if we're still fairly optimistic about the floor.
No, I get what you mean. It's not, we talked about this with Russ a little bit too. It's not, he's not a trick shot. He's not a trick shot guy. It's not, some guys just aren't. It's just not in there. He can create throws like off platform. Like he can get out of the pocket and throw on the move with the best of them. I mean, Trevor's got like a dozen throws to the left this year that some guys would never throw in their whole career. It's just that, like you're saying, it's not that getting tackled, throwing sidearm, but that's what the best ones do nowadays. That's kind of what you kind of have to have in your bag a little bit. That's just not what he is.
He reminds me a little bit of Andrew Luck in that way with some of the pocket mobility stuff, but Luck was more consistently accurate, and Luck could push the ball down the field.
Yes, Luck could throw.
And I think those are to me the biggest differences with that. So these names are tumbling through my head because when I was sitting there thinking about it, I was like, who does he remind me of? Like what at this stage, like who does he remind me of? And I think there is a little bit of that like pocket movement, mechanics, robotic stuff with Luck, but the ceiling isn't as high. Like I'm trying to figure out what it is, and I haven't landed on one that I really like. So
I know.
All right.
Just keep kicking.
We are going to take one more. Or actually, you know what? We're going to do We See You, and then we're going to get out of here.
Nice.
Can you see me now? Can you see me now?
All right. A couple guys I wanted to mention. One of my favorite moments of the day. That was fucking awesome. Terry McLaurin making that play down near the goal line in his hometown and setting up a game-winning touchdown and then screaming, "This is my motherfucking city." Was awesome.
That's awesome. Has anyone ever said that about Indianapolis?
You know what? It could have been anything. It could have been any city. Him being from there and winning 2 state championships in that stadium and winning multiple Big Ten championship games in that stadium, and then winning that game and going over 100 and making that play over Stephon Gilmore. That was the most badass moment of the day, in my opinion. That was cool. Amazing.
That was cool. I always laugh when you see games in Florida or Miami, especially, and you can tell which players are really geeked up to be playing in Miami and like back at their home. They have like 30 family and friends sitting in there. So I wonder how many family friends Terry had to that game. I guess Indiana is not that bad to DC, but I'm curious like how many family friends he did, because he dunked on him and it was awesome. Like he was really incredible. He really brought it today, and just showed his whole. He was like, "I was worth this $20+ million. Watch what I could do." No, it was awesome. I agree. That was one of the coolest moments, like of the whole year. The fact that someone would say that, and just kind of not a game or a player that you're expecting to see that.
He was correct in saying it. He was like, in that moment, it was a totally acceptable and appropriate thing to say. If you can get away with saying that unironically, that's pretty fucking cool. Yes. So we're going to talk about that game on the Monday Hangover with Sando tomorrow. Another game we're going to talk about, Titans-Texans. Derrick Henry ran for 200 yards today. The Titans won a football game where their quarterback attempted 1 pass in the second half.
I kept looking to see if it'll update and see, because I'm like, okay, I'm going to watch Willis tomorrow. And I'm like, well, never mind. I don't have to watch Willis at all because that'll be easy to go through. No, but that's Titans ball, baby. That's bully ball all the way.
Talking about on Thursday's show, they're doing the stuff they need to do to win, right? Like situational stuff. Like they handed the ball to Derrick Henry 32 times today. He rushed for 220 yards and they won the football game. And they do that a decent amount. So we're going to talk about that game and the horrendous Texans defense tomorrow.
But also like the Titans defense, just insert name here, like player number 40 here. And then like they just are like playing their asses off. And again, that speaks to like just Vrabel and the coaching staff. Just every guy comes to play. Everybody, they have a type of guy they like. They like the big freaky athletes, not only just physically, but just mentally. They just like tough dudes, and they coach them up well, and it works for them. That's why they're able to do this week in, week out.
All right. Other games to talk about tomorrow: Raiders, Saints. Talk about Colts and Washington, Packers, Bills, Titans, Texans. Those are going to be the games on the Monday Hangover tomorrow with Mike Sando. So please come back and check that out. If you could, Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you're watching this, hopefully you're already subscribed. If you're listening to it, the link to the YouTube channel is in the description. We do our Thursday recap shows exclusively on YouTube, so that's where you can check those out. If you have not, please rate and review the podcast. If you want to go to Apple Podcasts and just leave us a 5-star review, tell us why you like the show. It would mean a lot to us. I would sincerely appreciate that. So thank you very, very much if you have done that. If you haven't, please do. We will be back tomorrow night with Mike Sando and the Monday Hangover. You guys should be able to listen to that on the Tuesday podcast feed. Until then, appreciate you listening. We'll talk to you soon.